I'm Dr. Karen Cassiday, the owner and director of the Anxiety Treatment Center of Chicago, and I'm really pleased to introduce Dr. Alison Alden. And Alison is one of our wonderful staff who really enjoys working with adults. And she is an expert at helping adults manage depression and anxiety and related disorders. So Alison, I'd love to hear, what is it that you enjoy so much about working with adults?
Well, one thing that I really like is just seeing them get better, especially people who have been suffering from anxiety and depression for a really long time. A lot of the time they come in here, willing to give it a try, but honestly not with much hope, having lived with this for such a long time. For adults, a lot of the time things have been going on for decades, and their world has really become very, very narrow due to their anxiety and depression. And it's just amazing to see them get over it and start to live full, rich lives, which oftentimes they just never thought was going to be possible for them.
Right, and that's one of the things I love so much about my work and your work is we get to see real transformation. And we see a lot of people that have seen previous therapists and they haven't quite gotten the traction they need. And when you think about it, do you have any hot tips that you would give to an adult who's felt like they've struggled with anxiety or they've struggled with depression?
Absolutely. So one big thing is to just celebrate the successes that you do have. A lot of times people come in feeling pretty unmotivated because they've had those experiences that you've talked about where they've had a lot of previous treatment failures. They're pretty down on themselves and their own abilities to move forward. And if you focus on your failures, it's not a very good way to build up your motivation. The real way to do it is to congratulate yourself for the little things, the little bits of success that you do have, and give yourself credit for stuff. And slowly you can begin to do more. And I work with people to help them move forward so they don't have to do that on their own. But you want to start out by kind of appreciating what you can do instead of focusing on how limiting your life has become.
Right, and I think one of the things that's tough is if you're an adult and you've suffered with anxiety and or depression and you've had lots of therapy, is our culture gives the mistaken message that says, as a grown-up, you're just supposed to master things and do better.
Yeah.
And I've noticed particularly if you're a college graduate, then you have even more pressure to succeed and to appear to the world as though all is well. And that really creates suffering and shame.
Exactly, yeah, and sometimes, people do appear to the world as if they're doing well, and, they put up that good front, but inside they're just dying and they're suffering, and it takes so much out of people to have to put up that front.
Yeah,
sure.
Like if you wanted to encourage an adult to get over their shame and to get some help, what would you say to them, Alison?
Yeah, well, first of all, to offer themselves a little bit compassion, to allow themselves to be human, basically, and make some mistakes and know that everybody does, everybody suffers. It might seem like you're very, very alone in what you're going through, but anxiety and depression are just so common. So many people are dealing with this. And a lot of times, people, are a lot more generous than you think. That, a lot of times you're your own harshest critic.
Yeah.
So it really helps if you can kind of learn to treat yourself the same way that you would treat a loved one. A lot of times we speak to ourselves much, much more harshly than we would somebody else that we cared about who was going through the same thing.
Absolutely. And in fact, Alison's talking about some of the hottest research that we have in mental health dealing with self-compassion and cultivating that in patients. And it can be a really robust way to help improve not only how you feel about yourself, but how you deal with your problems. Alison, I want to thank you for talking with me today, and I know you're going to enjoy working with Dr. Alison Alden.